Hello, Hypno Buddies. Welcome back to what is getting close to the end of Chaos Head Noah. I assume we're on track for an ending of some kind, coming up shortly. I don't have a whole lot to discuss at the beginning of this video. I feel like we're actually getting to the point where we're starting to get more answers than questions. Dots are beginning to be connected with some of the conversations we've seen with Bon and Momose and Yua. And, yeah, it looks like we're headed for a final showdown, which is probably going to happen at the hospital, because that's where Sua is being held. We guessed that's where he was being held, and it turns out that that's probably the case. Our boy might be headed there, because at the end of last episode, we were about to get hit by a car, I think. So we may be headed there ourselves. But that also seems to be where Takemi's actual body is, from the sound of it, which means that might also be where Shogun and Nanami are, and where Rimi's heading. So it seems like this is going to be our final confrontation ground, or at least for this ending. I assume there's going to be a big sort 'em up with the bad guy at some point, just because of all the Black Knight talk. But we're not there yet. We're not at that ending. I don't think we're going to reach that our first try. But we're going to see what happens. Like I said, I don't have a whole lot else to discuss at the moment. Nothing really to theorize based on new info, because we're actually getting some questions answered, so let's go get more questions answered. When last we left our hero, he was waiting for a car to hit him, but it never happened. And he opened his eyes. A car was stopped right in front of me. I was still standing on the road on my own 2 feet. Well, gosh darn it, didn't work. The driver got out and started shouting at me about something. He shoved me as he kept on screaming. Why? Why do you think, dumbass? I broke down crying then and there. Why won't you run me over? What is this, an insurance scam? Why won't anyone save me? Why won't anyone release me? Was a fake not even worth killing? And that's it. That's the end of the scene. Alright. That was your cliffhanger. Oh, are we playing as Rimi now? Oh, we're just bouncing all over the place now. As Sakihara Rimi walked beneath the Shibuya Station underpass, she took out her cell phone. She had walked straight here right after parting ways with Takemi. Shogun? Who else, right? Never mind. She then selected the number registered in her address book as Nana-chan and placed a call, and maybe Shogun will pick up. They picked up the very next moment. Ah, yeah, it's me. Truth is, I have something to report. Oh, what if Nanami was the bad guy all this time? Because she would have to be there to keep up the delusion, right? Oh, you know what? Even when that one fella, Genichi, whatever his name was in the office, was talking with the person of the shadow, said, I never expected one of them to be you. And we saw the Garo Froggy. I was like, yeah, but it couldn't be Nanami. I don't know. Maybe Nanami's at the heart of this more than we think. If Takemi's life is all a delusion, Nanami is the one part of his life that we keep seeing. What if she's just acting too? That would be juicy. Boy, Takemi would just... Takemi just... I feel so bad for this guy. Like, everything he knows is just bullshit. Truth is, I have something to report. I think it's time to go and save Nana-chan now. You called Nana-chan to say it was time to save Nana-chan. Rimi had an idea of where Nanami was being held, as well as who had abducted her. Okay, maybe not, maybe not. A theory she had only come to because she had been in a similar situation herself once before. Or really. It was a past she wanted to forget, but it was one she was ready to confront in order to rescue Nanami, no matter how steeped in darkness those memories may be. All of these characters have endings that basically show their stories, so this is all going to be elaborated on later. The reaction of whom she had called was exactly as Rimi had predicted, leading her to inevitably start laughing. Ha, you don't trust me, do you? I'm telling you, it'll be fine. Both her voice and expression were cheerful. Not an ounce of the grim resolve she carried could be felt. To an outside observer, it would simply look as if she was having a fun, engaging conversation. Besides, that's all in the past. If I have to choose between my feelings or saving Nana-chan, I think it's pretty obvious which one I'm going to pick. Like I told you, I want to be your strength. Presumably Shogun, maybe, possibly. But also I don't want to drag Taku into this. As she said that, Rimi's expression clouded over. Hey, is it okay if I tell you something? It won't take long. I told Taku a lot of awful things. Still thinking this is Shogun. And while I know it's selfish to say this after everything I've done, all the time I spent together with him, it was all really, really fun. Even though it was all make-believe. Even though it was all steeped in illusions. My school life. Taku and I going to that school. Yeah, who are you exactly? You've only been going to the school as a cover for a month. What were you before this? Being friends with Daichin. Me trying hard to stay by Taku's side. And even Taku's existence itself. Little by little, Rimi's pace slowed. Multiple strangers passed her by. Taku is so helpless, weak, and pathetic. Nailed it. He's the kind of boy a normal girl would never even look at, let alone go near. As she spoke, she squeezed the hand she held the cell phone with. There's a new angle. And yet, despite it all, my heart tells me how fun it was. Despite it all, my heart tells me how much I wanted to spend more time with him. So you did lie about coming back. What do these feelings mean? Looking up, she saw the neon-lit night sky. No stars were in sight. For an ephemeral moment, Rimi stood beneath it. A slight smile rose to her face when she received a response. Well, I've got to hang up now. It'll be fine, really. You don't have to worry about a thing. I promise. I'll put an end to everything myself. Will you now? Okay. Takumi? Okay, so she wasn't even talking to Shogun. She was talking to the guy in the bed. So he's not necessarily in a coma? What is his state right now? I need a report on his status. I recognized the sound of the door opening. Having lost all of my willpower before I realized it, I found myself back in my base. I didn't know how I'd gotten here after failing to die at Yamori Nodori. My memory was hazy. This container. Who put it here? And how? Probably you. It was something I'd never even thought about until now, but now that I couldn't help but notice how odd it felt. The more I thought about it, the more the feeling encroached upon my mind. The moment I closed the door, the room went pitch black. Leaning against the door, I simply stood there, still as could be. Inside the quiet room, all that could be heard was the sound of my shallow breathing and the hum of the fan inside my PC. I thought that maybe surrounding myself in darkness would make things easier, since I wouldn't have to be conscious of my pitiful self, but it had the exact opposite effect. Unable to see anything, and with nothing else to listen to, Rimi's cruel words from before repeated endlessly in my mind. You are a delusionary existence. Yep, not happy about that. My own moans disgusted me more than ever before. I even felt nauseous. I was already a disgusting freak even before all this, but if my very existence itself was warped, I was already beyond saving. I wanted to disappear completely. As I tripped over the trash scattered across the floor, I stumbled my way to the end of the room. I turned the lights on, scaring away the dark. I then grabbed the Saratan figure, post-awakening version, that I just so happened to enter my line of sight and sat down in my chair. I brought her close to my chest. She was really small. She was really hard, too. She didn't breathe, nor did she speak. She didn't have the warmth that a 3D girl had. Can we just delusion her into reality now? Despite that, she was all I had left. Remy had left me. I didn't know where Nanami was. Senna had attacked me. Kazubi hadn't protected me. Yua was my enemy. And Ayase was hospitalized. These were the only girls I knew the names of, and none of them would do anything for me. Reality was harsh. I didn't give a damn about a monster like me. With my trembling hands, I tightened my grip on Saratan. Then tighter, then tighter. Tight enough to break her. No, not my waifu. I wanted to disappear completely. If that was how I thought, shouldn't I just act? Ultimately, I was just playing the tragic protagonist right now. Even if I was overcome with sorrow, no one was going to empathize with me. Nobody was looking at me. Nobody was here for me. They had all abandoned me. No, I didn't have any real bonds. There was no one in my life I could count on as a friend. I didn't even have a family. I was a fake, after all. I'm just talking nonsense at this point. Just shut up and die already. Still no jump scare. Setting down Saratan, I sluggishly got up from my chair and found a plastic cord lying under my bed. Oh, this is about to get dark, guys. This is about to get real dark. You might want to shut off the episode for a bit. I picked it up, made a ring big enough for my head to fit in, and tied the other end to a pipe of the loft bed. Yeah, we were about to get some Doki Doki Literature Club up in this bitch. Fuhi. Now, this isn't going to work, but still. I'm gonna do it. I really am. I'm gonna do it. So, is there gonna be the gaze? There was no one here to stop me, but of course there wasn't. I was the only one in this room. I managed to secure the plastic cord quite well. Dying is surprisingly easy, I thought to myself. What's gonna happen? Who are you gonna leave your AESO account to, man? I put my head inside the rig and tightened it around my neck. At least send Grim the username and password. Normally you couldn't hang yourself just from a loft bed. It wasn't high enough. But if I kicked my legs out from under me, then height wasn't an issue. What I needed was the resolve to die. Now at the end, I looked over at Saratan, who smiled at me from atop my desk. Starting with Saratan, my waifus, lined up on the shelves, would be the ones that would see me to the other side. It's how he wanted it, guys. I was struck by sorrow. Loneliness filled my heart. I felt a twinge in my nose.
Sayonara.
Goodbye. Placing all my weight on the cord, I kicked my legs out. And the cord started strangling me. It was putting immense pressure on my neck. It dug into my flesh hard. It hurts. Of course it hurts. Put your legs down. That noise file again. Before I knew it, I was unconsciously trying to relieve the pressure with my fingers. I moved my legs back into place, then went to stand up. But if I did that, I wouldn't be able to die. If I didn't keep all my weight on the cord, I wouldn't be strangled, so I endured it. This is just going to cause the other Takumi to awaken or something, isn't it? Again, this guy's not real. He's not real. This is not a real character, YouTube. My throat hurt. Rather than being unable to breathe, the pain of it digging into my neck was the worst part. Hurry up and die already. The suffering continued. It was so immense I couldn't even pass out. My body swayed aimlessly. Around and around it swayed, my legs kicking up and down. The pipe on my loft bed started creaking. Watch it break. Yep, and suddenly my body lost all support. And I violently crashed to the floor, landing flat on my ass. The impact I felt in the bones of my pelvis made me writhe in pain. See, we knew he'd be fine. How many times has this voice actor had to record a act like you're unable to breathe line in this game? And at the same time, I was desperately sucking in air. As tears welled up in my eyes, I looked up at the cord that had been tied to my bed, only to find that it had snapped in two at the center. Oh, so it wasn't even the loft. It was the cord. Yeah, that. And more of that. What the fuck? What the fuck? Of all times for me to fail. Why at the very end when it mattered most? I knew I was beyond saving, a good-for-nothing loser that hadn't managed to accomplish even a single noteworthy thing in his entire life. Not that I was a person to begin with, but to fail even when trying to die, it was just too much. Why couldn't I die? Even though I wanted to die. Even though I wanted to die. Now that I knew how painful it was to be hanged, I would never have the will nor the courage to attempt it again. Someone, anyone, teach me a way I can die in peace, please. I have a feeling you're going to be stabbed shortly after an earthquake, my guy, so don't worry. Seeing my shameless tendency to rely on others rear its head once more, I was hit with a wave of nausea. I really was. Completely and entirely useless. We haven't even got our D-sword yet, jeez. Okay, who are we switching to? Bon, why are you here? Oh, of course, you're in the hospital. Human presence quickly faded from the hospital cloaked in night. Perhaps after taking in all the life and death during the day, it took this time to regain balance. At this time, the hospital housed neither the scent of life nor the scent of death. Only a quiet emptiness reigned. Bon Yasuji chuckled to himself as he realized the odd nature of his thoughts. Despite the minor self-flagellation, it did indeed feel especially quiet tonight. It was not yet time for the lights to be on, leaving the corridor steeped in darkness. There was not even a single sign of the nurses. We're going to run into our favorite nurse. Immediately after stepping foot into the lobby, Bon was hit with a very bad feeling. There was no logical reasoning behind it. It was simply what one might call a detective's gut. My gut is usually right for the most part. In his mind, he believed it to be an oddly superstitious thought, but this may have simply been a way to dismiss the feeling. Hey, once you've been doing something for a while, instinct tends to kick in. Man, your subconscious, it learns. While the taxi had driven him to the hospital, Ban had attempted to call Sua's phone numerous times, but each and every one of them had failed, which only served to demonstrate his junior's precarious situation all the more clearly. There was no time to waste. He had to find the place where Sua was being held within the large hospital and rescue him. Well, this is going to be a hunt. All while not being detected by the kidnapper. Good luck with that. The linoleum floor would have made his footsteps echo. To avoid this, Bon took off his shoes before entering the lobby. Winter was swiftly approaching at this time of year, a fact Bon was readily made aware of when the chill from the floor sent shivers up his soles. Yeah, they already know you're here. Bon-san! Oh, everything is calling his name, literally the door. The sound of the automatic front door echoed throughout the room, followed by the voice of a girl calling out Bon's name. Okay, maybe it wasn't the door. Was it the nurse? Oh, it was Yua. The surprise of seeing her in the lobby put Bon at a loss for words. He hurried toward her in a panic. Beyond her glasses, her eyes threw anxious glances at her surroundings. Why did you follow me? I told you to hide somewhere safe. I'm sorry, but Bon looked for any signs of Momose, but she was nowhere to be seen. Realizing she had come alone, Bon scratched the top of his head with a concerned expression. You need to leave, now. This isn't a game. I understand that. I do, but if you understand, then take your butt back. Oh, we know that sound. Hello, Shogun. Yeah, you thought you were going to be sneaky, huh? Right as he spoke, a creaking sound came from the hallway across the lobby. In the very center of this empty, dark hallway, slowly, an empty wheelchair made its way toward Bon and Yua. Oh, interesting. So, maybe Shogun is still the delusion and no one can see him like they can't see the D-swords. Actually, no, the wheelchair should be invisible as well because the nurses couldn't see it when he was going down the hallway at the end of the last chapter. Is the Darth Spider-Man mask in there? Oh, then at nearly the exact same time, someone could be heard running up the stairs. Okay, so someone gave it a shove. Never mind. Less of an impressive magic trick than I was previously inclined to believe. Yua-chan, get out of here now, you hear me? Before he had even finished giving his warning, Ban had already started running. He followed the footsteps up the stairs without waiting for Yua's answer. Given his typical languid demeanor, the speed at which Ban moved was like nothing anyone could have ever imagined. What you gonna do about that wheelchair, though? Hey, we're on that garden where Remy got slapped. As he followed the footsteps, Ban found himself on the roof of the outpatient ward. There were lines of shrubbery installed on the rooftop, forming a garden of sorts. It was most likely a space of healing for the patients there, but regrettably, as the lights were off, Ban could not see what kind of flowers were blooming there. Given the fact Ban was on the roof, it was only natural that the wind would blow strong. With ragged breaths, Ban quickly surveyed his surroundings. Without a shadow of a doubt, this is where the man behind the footsteps must have run, but now he was nowhere to be seen. Was I led here on purpose? The man had fled while causing sounds that had seemed purposeful. Ban could not think of any other reason for him to have done that aside from leading him here. Ban did not have his gun on him. Well, that's a mistake. As he was apprehensive about being unarmed, he looked for something that could serve as a weapon, but to no avail. With a gulp, he wiped away the sweat on his forehead with his fingers. What were you planning on doing, coming here to rescue Suo with no firearm? Step by step, he made his way to the center of the garden. Here and there, Ban could see a few hiding spots tucked away within the shadows of the benches and shrubbery. He put himself into a fully alert state, one in which he could respond to a potential attacker no matter what direction they came from. The garden was set up in a circular fashion, with benches placed around it in accordance with its shape. Ben strained his eyes as he looked at each bench in order, and on one of those benches his eyes landed upon a strange object. Is this going to be the Darth Spider-Man? Keeping a close look on his surroundings, he slowly approached the bench. And as he got closer to it, its shape was made clear to him. Yep! Darth Spider-Man, the villain behind it all. It was around the size of a soccer ball. Round and dark it was. Oh? Do you know that? You might not be wrong. Is it a severed human head? It might be. Ban, who had investigated countless murder cases involving dismemberment in the past, quickly recalled an image of a photo he had once seen. The bad feeling in his chest grew stronger and stronger. Recognizing the possibility of it being his junior's head, vengeful anger and furious rage toward the perpetrator bubbled up from within him. Ban gritted his teeth and drew even closer to the bench. The object did not move a single inch. The wind of the night continued to blow. Well, someone remembered their gun. Then Ban heard a gunshot. He froze in response to the sudden sound. Normally the detective would duck and investigate the direction the sound had come from, but he was unable to do even that, possibly because he was shot. No. In actuality, there was no need for him to do that anymore. Yep, feeling a burning heat in his chest, Ban touched it with his hand. A slippery sensation. Something was flowing out of his body, accompanied by the very particular smell of blood. As it turns out, it was blood. Only a short moment following the gunshot did Ban's mind begin to register pain within him. He had been shot. The moment he realized this, all strength left his legs. Unable to remain standing, he collapsed to the ground. Well, and this is why you don't get a story. Hello. Okay, that could be Suwa. It could also be the guy from Nozomi. The footsteps from earlier were approaching him. As his vision grew blurry, he desperately looked up at the person drawing near. A dark shadow, with a gun in its hand. A shadow so dark, Ban could not recognize its face.
Ah.
That sounds like Suwa. A voice came. It was Suwa the whole time. Holy shit. I told you to back off, but you just couldn't help yourself. A voice he recognized. Yep. A real shame, sir. Ban, collapsed in a heap, was met with the ridicule of one man, Suwa Mamoru. We thought you might have been a baddie. We thought. We suspected. I trusted my gut. You shot me. You bet. Guess it's time to celebrate my first shot while out on the field, eh? As he laughed into the night, Suwa casually picked up the object from the bench. While I've got you here, sir, you were eyeing this an awful lot. Is it really that weird to see? A little. This Darth Spider helmet, I mean. Suwa, who had now returned to Ban, held the dark helmet in front of the detective's face in an ostentatious manner. Ah, there's the crazy look. Hello, Adachi. Spoilers. Serves me right. As Ban laughed, his vision grew blurrier and blurrier. Both his arms and legs felt extremely cold. His chest hurt, but not just from the physical pain. He also felt an intense gaze upon him, but he had no more strength to conclude whether it was Suwa's or someone else's. Knowing that his life would last only a few more minutes, Ban forced his growingly heavy body to face upward. With arms and legs outstretched, only the night sky lay above him. A sky overcast with no stars to be seen. But even if there were any left in the sky, Ban had long since lost the ability to see them. More of those voice files, as after a few coughs, the taste of blood spread through his mouth. Suwa, I've got a word. You're a schmuck. And you're still a hopeless kid. A baka. A boneheaded schmuck of a detective. Beyond help. But still, I never once doubted ya. You were giving us way too much trouble, sir. Nothing I can do about it. I get what you mean. Ban's breathing grew increasingly shallow. Only a faint wheezing sound could be heard, leaking from his throat. Before long, he would be unable to perceive anything anymore. Who the hell are you? With his consciousness fading in and out, Ban spoke one final question. And in response, Suwa pointed the muzzle at Ban, then gave his reply. I'm a bona fide wizard. So he probably was the one in Genishi's office. Didn't know you were in a Garo Froggy, Suwa. You schmuck. Before either of them could realize it, the wind had stopped blowing. The darkness had quickly turned to a place of serenity, and within it, two figures remained frozen still. But that, too, remained only for an ephemeral moment. Suwa's finger, now curled around the trigger, slowly moved inward. Get interrupted? Ah, well, we could have assumed that Suwa was a member of the church. May the divine light save you, sir. It didn't. What? Whoa. Settle down, Neidhart. Neidhart going off in the chat. Okay. Grim is not here. Participants 1. That's you, Neidhart. Settle down. Chill out. Okay, he's here now. Is Grim going to end up being someone? Because that would be amusing. Okay. Can we continue on? Something else happening? What the hell? Lol. Grim, I need you to come over here and push me off a roof. Kill or... After all this time, only now you becoming Chuny? Lamau. Kick him. Kick him. Or were you rejected by an IRL girl? That's probably what Grim... Yeah, that would be what Grim would think. Kill me. In that case, I've got some good news for you. I wonder about that. Grim, what do you got? I still wonder about you, Grim. What do you got? What's your good news? No good news on this end, and the news isn't changing. If you stay a virgin till 30... Can't even be bothered to type straight. You become a wizard! How does Grim know about wizards? Is that how Suwa did it? Okay, Nightheart, you can... Someone has entered the chat. I don't know if you've actually noticed or not. That's a pro tip. That's a pro tip, everyone. That's a pro tip. Who says video games don't teach you nothing? Kill him or kill me. Speaking of pro tips... Come on, Graham, hit me with something. I know you're somebody. Apparently there's going to be a festival in about an hour. Really? That's an interesting non sequitur. Don't tell me it's at the hospital. It'll be at Shibuya Scramble Crossing. Oh, our favorite place. Wonderful. Lovely. Maybe we'll go there and get our sword that doesn't really serve any purpose now. I mean, you might as well go try to grab your sword now if you want to kill yourself anyway. That way, if you fall off the roof, you're fine. Jesus, you're annoying. What the fuck, LOL? Yeah, Grim's going to lose patience. Well, if that's what you want, you should go. Why? Is it a killing me festival? You're a celebrity. You'll be the center of attention. Ah, well, okay, he's got a point there. Maybe we'll get those guys to beat us up again. Maybe you can get someone there to kill you. That actually worked out pretty well the last time we were at Shibuya Scramble. Turning off my PC monitor, I hugged my knees with my arms. Somebody please kill me. What's with the big bro? Is the Nami actually outside the box? Did Remy actually do something? In my hand was Seratan, my one and only ally. I have a feeling we're going to get a lot of... we're going to get a very vague ending here. And we're going to have to get the gaps filled in by other endings. Is the Nami actually outside? Because if she is, she's got some splaining to do. Glad to see you, but I have questions. Perhaps because I'd been holding her in my sweaty hands for a while, her slender limbs were all sticky, and not only that, but her arms had been bent. Come on, open up! Our boy doesn't even hear you. This might be a delusion. That voice. It couldn't be. How? You big jerk, Bakaoni! There was no way I'd misheard that. Out of every girl that visited my base, there was only one dumbass that would scream outside of it like that. Nanami was here. I was somewhat surprised at how indifferent I felt in response to that fact. I'm just curious. Nanami, I'm going to need you to go into detail about how you spent the last week, because I have many questions. I just didn't care. What would her coming here while I was this far gone even do for me? Besides, it wasn't like it was out of the ordinary for Nanami to come here. Hadn't Remy said she was going to rescue her anyway? Yeah, thanks, Remy. If you don't open the door right now, then you're really mean. The noise was starting to irritate me. Just leave a monster like me alone. Nanami should have been focused on her right hand, not me. Yeah, let's see that, too. Not that I knew what had happened to it. I didn't have it in me to talk to her I didn't have it in me to talk to anyone anymore. Oni! Bang, bang, bang. But she was being too loud, so I was forced to get up from my chair and head for the door. The door seemed oh so far away to me, which made me realize I was scared to see her. Yeah, I'm a little curious what's on the other side of this door, too. What's up? Oh, a hand. Well, this is a... Many questions and many answers present themselves at once. I don't even see the bandage. Ah! The second I opened the door, Nanami shivered a little, then fell silent. Big bro? Even though she'd been shouting at the top of her lungs just a few moments ago, she was acting strangely meek now. Were you in a position where you had to be rescued, by chance? I was confused. I'd barely ever seen Nanami act like this. So a thought crossed my mind. Was this Nanami real? Poke her with the sword. If you were here, you should have answered sooner. Can I come in? You know we ignore you. Oh, wait a minute. Nanami might also be an actor still. We don't know. We have no idea. She's at school and she's fine, but then she lost her hand, and then she's kidnapped and needs to be rescued, and then she's not real, but she still needs to be rescued, and now she's here. What the hell are you? What am I looking at right now? I didn't answer. Ignoring her question, I headed back to my room and sat down on the sofa. Your hands okay? Okay, you can leave now. I once again took hold of my Saratan figure and gripped her tight. So tight, in fact, that my hand hurt slightly. But it didn't matter, because that pain, too, was a delusion. Remy told you to stop making delusions. Nanami followed after me, entering the room in silence. Once she came inside, as if she didn't know what to do at that point, she moved aside the magazines scattered across the floor and squatted down. Yeah, what do you know? What don't you know? What's up, girl? She didn't speak, even though normally she'd have started scolding me the second she got the chance. She looked at a fixed point on the ground as she hugged her knees close. She had a depressed look on her face. A bandage was barely visible beneath the sleeve on her right wrist. Okay, so she does still have the bandage. I was about to say, if you sit like that, I'll see your panties, but I stopped myself. Yeah, read the room. This Nanami had to be a delusion. I was one too, after all. Everything in this world was made up of delusions. Delusions developed only within my mind. Both me and this delusion I was looking at were fake. Watch her start turning transparent. So if I saw her panties, or even if she walked around town buck naked, it made no difference to me whatsoever. Averting my gaze from Nanami, I looked up at the ceiling. With no particular goal in mind, I started counting the rusty spots. I didn't want to look at Nanami. I'd only felt empty if I did. Silence took over. Only the sound of the fan in my PC could be heard throughout the cramped room. Even though every time Nanami came to my base, it turned into my own personal hell, one that was as annoying as could be, I still felt that way. But those memories, too, might have been delusions. Hey, big bro. Say something. Hey, you came over here. What's your intention? A voice devoid of all energy. This couldn't be Nanami. Therefore, she must have been in delusion. Why won't you say anything? Doesn't the bandage worry you? Yeah, we might want to touch on this topic at some point. That hand's been going on an adventure. I concentrated on my task of counting the rusty spots. I don't care, you're a delusion. Even if you were the real one, I'm completely unrelated to you. I'm a delusion, so I'm not related to you by blood. Say something, please. The sound of rustling cloth rang throughout the quiet room, followed by a ringing in my ears. My head hurt. These two were delusions, though, so I paid them no mind. Whether Nanami was throwing off her clothes, taking off her bandage, or doing something unthinkable, it wouldn't surprise me. I did not care. This was a delusion, and so was I. Even if there wasn't a concrete line of logic, it was the obvious conclusion to reach. And that was the end of that. So she took off the bandage? Hey, look. I wasn't going to look. I was too afraid. Thankfully, the bruise is pretty much gone now. It was super swollen at first. Okay, so Nanami's on a completely different page as us. She hurt her wrist in some way and it got bandaged. So it had nothing to do with her hand being literally cut off. I still need an explanation as to why that Nanami phoned us saying, hey, give me my hand back. Yeah, there we go. I was playing basketball when I fell pretty hard. Well, we're getting answers slowly. Won't you at least look at it? Then again, you've never really worried about me before, huh, big bro? Even though I always worry about you. I didn't want to see anything. I didn't want to think about anything. Hey, Nanami. Without meeting her eyes, I called out to my sister, or to the girl whose identity I wasn't sure of. I don't care whether you're real or fake. So, right now I only wanted one thing. Won't you kill me? Still no real answers. We're back here. Yeah. Oh, I hear sirens. Well, Bond's mission did not go terribly well. What are you going to do? At the front entrance to AH Tokyo General Hospital, Kusunoki Yua fixed her gaze beyond the automatic door. Having been told by Bond to get out of here now, she had reluctantly complied and went outside. However, in her worry, she could not bring herself to go any further. Bond had followed the mysterious figure and vanished up the hospital stairs. It had not even been 3 minutes since then, but hoping that Bond had already returned, Yua peeked into the lobby. This was after Bond had headed into the hospital alone. Yua had ignored Momose's orders and had followed after him, and all she could get one step closer to the truth behind her little sister's death, and the true perpetrator. Are you going to hear the gunshots? Because they were on the roof. The person that had told Bond to back off over the phone and had abducted Bond's junior, someone who must have been named Suisan, and possibly was both people, was most likely the same one that had killed her sister, Mia. Sua, did you kill Mia? You've been a bad boy. That was the feeling Yua had, and as such, she had been unable to hold back her impulsive emotions. Despite Bond's various warnings about the dangers of involving herself with this case, Yua had come nonetheless. Moreover, it was not as though Yua would be able to achieve anything by coming here. She was nothing more than a powerless high schooler, after all. She could have manifested her sword. Somewhere in her mind, Yua hoped that Bond would simply come running gallantly back after apprehending the culprit. If that happened, she would have the opportunity to question them directly. We still need some answers about the culprit that was actually arrested. What's up with that? Why did my sister have to die? That was the one thing Yua had to ask. Suddenly, Yua felt a gaze upon her. She nervously scanned her surroundings. It had not even been 2 hours since the sun had set, yet oddly enough the hospital's front entrance was eerily quiet. Right next to it was the urgent care entrance, which also served as the entrance for emergencies. And yet, not even there, housed any signs of human presence. A train gently ran along its tracks behind the hospital. Hardly any cars passed by the large street in front of it, and there was nary a single passerby. Housed between the sleepless cities of Shibuya and Shinjuku, where Yua was now, was akin to an abyss of darkness formed in the interstice of two bursts of blinding light. No figure that could conceivably be responsible for the gaze was visible. Holding back her anxiety, Yua placed her hand on her chest and let out a small sigh. Following this, she found herself glancing over at the hospital ward. I wonder if the gaze is actually Takumi. Because again, if he's been stuck in a hospital ward all this time and he's so powerful to be able to have these delusions and stuff, can he just see around places? Maybe he himself is the gaze. What the hell? That was sudden. Okay. Maybe not the time for this, Yua. There at the entrance to the hospital ward stood a single girl. Oh, fuck. The lights were out. Oh, is this supposed to be Mia? I was about to say this looks like Yua, but Mia is Yua's... Are they twins? I can't remember. I thought they were. The lights were out. Oh, that would explain, yes. Rendering the area very dimly lit, and yet the girl's figure was clearly visible amid the darkness.
Mia-chan.
Yeah, Mia. Don't fall for it. Without intending to, Yua whispered that name. Her sense of reason told her it was impossible, but nonetheless, she could not keep those words from escaping. The girl was a mirror image of her, a mirror image of her twin sister that was no longer of this world. Moreover, Yua recognized the clothing she was wearing. She knew almost for a fact that they were her sister's clothes. The possibility of her perhaps being a ghost filled Yua with fear that made her hair stand on end. Suddenly the girl turned and headed for the automatic door, marking the entrance to the hospital ward. No, we've seen Remy do this with Senna and her dad. Don't fall for it. The moment she grew close enough, the door quietly slid open. It isn't a ghost! Yua was in shock, but before she could register anything more, she promptly ran after the girl and into the hospital ward. Well, that's going to be a bad move. That's not a very clear corridor. This might be the one leading to Takumi's room if you hang a right. Inside, perhaps due to it being past closing time, it was even quieter than outside. Each time Yua took a step forward, her footsteps echoed forth into the depths of the corridor. It had been just the same in the outpatient ward, but the fact that it was even quieter here made her feel very uneasy. The girl had disappeared up the stairs. Yua heard the faint sound of laughter coming from ahead. It's like a scene straight from a ghost story. No, it's a scene straight from a horror game, so turn the fuck around, you idiot. With that on her mind, Yua cautiously made her way up the stairs, step by step. She arrived on the second floor. Glancing around the corridor, she did not see anyone, something she had expected. But just as she was expecting that it may have been a mere illusion, a girl's laughter sounded from the floors above. That voice, and the sound of its laughter, were identical to what Yua had heard time and time again in the past. Climbing to the third floor and looking down the corridor, Yua saw a girl with the same face as her, standing there. Yeah, don't you be laughing. One of the victims of the first New Gen case, the group dive. Her little sister, who should have died 2 months ago. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting this was fairly recent. My mind is on Bond saying that the video of the group dive was actually taken 5 years ago. I forget that the timeline for this is a little bit questionable. She should have died 2 months ago. Well, the fact that she just appeared tells me this is a delusion. I would like to think this is some sort of plot twist, but I'm pretty sure someone's just fishing you. Or catfishing you, as it were. Kusunoki Mia stood right there, with an unmistakable sense of presence. That's impossible! Yua removed her glasses and rubbed her eyes. However, even after putting her glasses back on, she looked to see that Mia was still there. Is it you, Mia-chan? What do you think? I think this is a delusion. A voice so clear it could never be an illusion. And that intrepid smile on her face, that laughter in the air. It was exactly the same as Yua remembered from her sister. Mia had always acted this very same way. In order for her to be the wrongdoer in the eyes of others, she had laughed like that all the time. Mia-chan! Do you really think that I'm Mia and that you're Yua? Wait, what? Okay, up until those last 3 words, I'm like, no, you're a delusion and someone's about to sucker punch you. In the same way that Remy took advantage of Senna's dad. Do you really think that I'm Mia and you're Yua? Has Yua been Mia this entire time? Whoa, hang on a second. All the twin tropes are coming out. Hang on a second. What do you mean? What if you've got it backwards? You're Mia. Yua's the one who died. And you're the one who killed her. Okay, let's process that for a second. I could see Mia taking Yua's place if Yua died. That would actually track in a couple of ways. But the idea that Mia was responsible for the group dive, maybe? On the other hand, this delusion may just be talking a bunch of silly bollocks in order to get Yua's guard to stay down. What are you saying? I'm saying whatever I need to say for someone to sneak up and stab you. You were so displeased with the love that your parents had for your older sister, you went online and hired an assassin. And on top of that, to make it seem like a suicide, you made 4 strangers jump off alongside her. You posed as the poor big sister, mourning her little sister's death, tears full of deceit running down your face. And once you finally got your parents' love that they only had for your big sister, you laughed from the deepest depths of your heart. That's an interesting theory. You're wrong. I'm Yua. And who can prove that exactly? I should be Yua. But you're not sure. I feel like she should be sure. What can prove that I'm me? Your face? Your name? Your memories? Even though it's me, I can't prove who I myself am. Could it be that I'm Mia? Again, I feel like you should know that. Didn't you look at all sorts of things? Multiple personalities. sleepwalking, fabricated memories, and lastly, delusions. The concepts Yua herself had been looking into prior to now show just how real the ambiguity of memories, or perhaps recollections, truly was. Yeah, memories can be very, very ambiguous. You actually shouldn't trust your memories to a large extent, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole just now. She didn't know, nor understand herself anymore. What was she? Boy, this delusion's got you doubting yourself hard. I thought Takumi was easy to gaslight. Jeez. Yua cradled her head as she shook it in denial. Who are you? Who am I? Was she Yua, who had always played the good child and was automatically loved and cherished by her parents? Was she Mia, who had always played the bad child and was actively hated by her parents, the child who, despite her actions being her own, oft cast her sister's glares of jealousy and hatred? Now, you, or now I, Mia, or possibly Yua, guided Yua, or possibly Mia, as she walked down the corridor soundlessly. So, the one on the left guiding the one on the right. Let's try to keep that clear. You shall suffer the same fate as I shall suffer the same fate as you. Yeah, you got taken. Yua and Mia, identical twins, faces a mirror image of one another. One of you is about to take a jump off a roof. And the boundary that served to differentiate the two was growing more and more blurred. Someone needs to come save you. Where's Ribby? No, there's the roof. Two enormous boxes stood tall within the darkness. And yet, compared to the nearby Shinjuku skyscrapers, they were akin to a small child looking up at their parents. Whatever rucksack guy is in the office making all this happen, I hate you. The hospital roof. That was where Yua found herself, having been led there by Mia. A section of the towering fence had been torn open just wide enough to allow a person to fit through it. Whether this was an intentional effort, none could say. Mia and Yua, after moving through the torn section to the outer side of the fence, both now stood at the edge of the roof. Meanwhile, Bon is on the other corner of the roof just bleeding out. Before them, the outpatient ward. As that location was lower than the hospital was, the entire breadth of the roof garden was visible to them. Oh, so never mind, Bon's over there. However, the lights were still turned off, so even if there were people there, Yua would be unable to know. Sorry, Bon. The wind blew strongly on the rooftop. The gale made Yua's and Mia's soft hair flutter, along with the hems of their clothes. In the beginning, we were both one. So now we are simply returning to one again. Should I take just one step? I shall become you, you shall become me. Yua, her eyes vacant of all light, mechanically whispered those emotional words. Again, I object to your use of trance. Well done, I applaud your technique, but you need to stop killing people. Spreading her arms to maintain her balance, she endured the upward rising wind. Beside her, Mia, arms spread just as Yua's were, looked at her sister and smiled. Whoa, that's not the smile I was expecting. You don't have to endure it for long. But you do have to learn what it feels like. My pain. So, time to jump. That way, both you and I will share the same pain. Which am I? Me? You? There's no point in asking that. No matter which it is, you will jump. All hesitation left within you had disappeared. And so, moving her foot forward, she got shot. Or was that the gunshot and she got snapped out of her trance? A gunshot tore through the dark night. And with a start, Yua came to her senses. Realizing where she was, she let out a frightful scream. The sheer height of where she stood immediately disoriented her, making her lose her balance. She very nearly fell, but in her desperation, she shot her hand toward the fence behind her and grabbed onto it. And because of this, she successfully managed to avoid being met with a terrible fate. Thanks, Sua! The gunshot had come from the roof of the outpatient ward. leading her to look at it once more. In the circular clearing on the roof garden, she managed to spot multiple figures. There were 2 of them. One was on the ground and the other stood beside them. Bon-san! Had the detective shot someone? Or had the detective been shot by someone? What are you doing? Pay attention to me again. Why won't you suffer the same pain as me? You're such a coward. Do you realize how unfair that is? Mia-chan. No, I'm Yua. Nah, call her on her bullshit, Yua. But I'm Yua. No, you're Mia. What on earth are you? I am what you wished for. You are what I wished for. She gonna push her off? Uh-oh. Mia reached for her sister. Placing her hands around Yua's neck, she began to strangle her. Okay, plan A didn't work, on to plan B. Yua felt a strong pressure on her throat. She could no longer breathe. Ah! Mia was no ghost. Whoops, I skipped that. Backlog. Mia was no ghost. She definitely had a body of flesh and blood, and now she was strangling Yua with it. That's not cool. Please, die for me. Just this once. Do this for me. I've endured this all alone for far too long. Yua's vision grew crimson. She reached her hands out into the air in front of her, but found herself unable to grasp anything. I'm gonna die. Awash with the most extreme dread, using her whole body, Yua called upon strength she did not even know she had, as she tried desperately to break free from Mia's grasp. But Mia was too strong. Yua was unable to move her even a single inch. Even Yua's thoughts were dyed crimson. It felt as though her consciousness was being coated in a layer of viscous blood. In a desperate frenzy, she shook her head so violently her glasses fell from her face. And from that point onward, to an outward observer, Yua and Mia were no longer distinguishable. It did not matter who killed whom, the result was arbitrary. If Yua died, all Mia would have to do was become Yua. If Mia died, all Yua would have to do was become Mia. Feelings of resignation steadily spread through Yua's heart. Before her eyes was Mia's, or possibly Yua's face, seeping with anger. Not wanting to see such a sight, she looked away. And what vaulted into her red field of view was the shrubbery. The shrubbery and the flowers adorning the roof garden. Oh, here we go! What did I say? What did I say? What did I say? Did I call that or did I call that? In her mind, Yua felt that there was a shadow among those flowers, the likes of which she had never seen before. Though perhaps it was simply an illusion, she had dropped her glasses in the struggle after all. However, no longer able to breathe, and suffering from so much pain, a faint sense of peace gradually rose from within her. Despite her thoughts of simply surrendering herself and peacefully passing on, her instinctive desire not to die denied her of that peace. It made Yua extend her hand toward that disparate shadow. Her distance from the shrubbery was about 2 meters. How she was now, there was no way she would reach it, even if she was to extend her hand. And yet, her fingertips touched something hard and cold. She then grasped it, almost completely unconsciously. See, Takumi, it's not that hard. The second she did so, Kusunoki Yua's consciousness, right on the verge of fading, instantly became clear, as though the haze had been dispelled from her mind. Where'd you get a sword? Wait, plan C? Nope, plan D? Aw, crap. There was an invisible yet fierce impact. Her sister, rained upon by showering red lights akin to petals, was blown away. Languidly standing up as she gasped for air, Lua looked at what she was holding and instantly doubted her eyes. It was a sword. All too elegant, like the glasses worn by one. All too sharp, like the wit shown by the other. All too immaculate, all too vigorous. All too delicate, its frame easy to fracture. All too profound, its nature veiled. And so beautiful, it beckoned tears from all who laid eyes upon it. So it's kind of got a dual nature to it, kind of like Yua and her sister. What on earth? Boy, this has been a weird night for you, Yua. The object now in her hands. It reminded Yua of Ayase's sword that she had seen at the overpass, and of the sword that Bon had spoken of, Senna's. Yeah, where's your sword, huh? Wait, what was that? Mia, after having been blown away by the mysterious impact, had been buried in the shrubbery. As she held her head, she freed herself from it and crawled back to her feet. What have you done? Hell if I know. Mia-chan, I think I finally understand why I went to such great lengths to learn the truth behind your death. Did you try to kill me? Did I almost just die again? Again? That's double unfair. In the end, I was afraid of you. I thought you would let yourself die, out of spite. I didn't understand you. I wanted to prove that your death wasn't my fault. I wanted to feel some kind of relief. I'm the worst big sister ever, huh? Why? Why won't you die? She could no longer get through to her. Their two selves, once together in the beginning, had now diverged completely, never to return to one again. Mia reached to grab her once more, reminded of the pain she had experienced before. Yua's trembles of dread returned, leading her to... Fight back? No! Yep. Brandish her sword. It carved a sharp trail and then cut the ghost in half. Take that, rucksack fucker. Mia's movements came to a halt, and with a look of shock on her face, she traced the wound of gouged flesh with her hand, beginning from the left side of her torso and ending all the way at her right shoulder. No blood sprang forth. Mia-chan died 2 months ago. So if that's true, who are you? Countless particles, large enough to be seen by the naked eye, came flowing out from within Mia. Her body, now enveloped in bubbles, gradually collapsed to the ground as her silhouette faded and faded. It was now transforming into something else. Rucksack guy? Yua, with feelings of incredulity, saw what it was. After a moment's wait, a man with an impressively large physique appeared in Mia's place. He was wearing a denim shirt, jeans, and a rucksack on his back. Yep, that is that. You had never seen the man before. Who are you? Damn, I need one of those rucksacks. Why did you turn into Mia-chan? How did... Yua backed away in confusion, still holding her D-sword. The man was similarly bewildered. He had likely not predicted that he would have been uncovered, leaving him to act in a very clearly frantic manner. I was thinking you got cut, but okay, I guess he didn't. I'm the one who's confused here! This brat's a gigalomaniac? Nobody fucking told me! Shit, what do I... And then, ignoring gravity itself, it came flying in, its path almost horizontal. Okay, probably someone else's sword. I'm going to say Senna's, or you know what? It could be almost anybody's. It could be Senna, it could be Rimi, hell, it could be Kazupi. Huh? By the time the man looked behind him, it had already perforated the rucksack on his back. Oh, probably Senna then. And from that same rucksack, a pale flash of light surged. The man, as though he had just received an electric shock, stiffened up like a pole. His eyes shot open wide, and only a moment later he lost consciousness, falling face first to the ground. He foamed at the mouth, and every so often his body would twitch. The object that had pierced the rucksack... Senna? No! Okay, well, I mean... Funnily enough, that was a name that did not come to mind. I had completely forgotten that, yeah, I guess Ayase is in this hospital, isn't she? So Ayase knows about the rucksacks, too. Well, that is Ayase's, D-sword, if I'm not mistaken. With a sword quite like the one Yua had obtained just a moment ago, with beautiful curves adorning its every edge. This is... Yeah, you should recognize that. Yua remembered the sword. She had seen it once before. Hi, Ayase. How you doing? A single presence approached her. Yua raised her head. Someone then emerged from the darkness. I was curious about what was transpiring, but to think the disturbance would be so great. Kishimoto-san. Without a change in her expression, Ayase glanced at the sword Yua held in her hands. I can feel it. The greater will. So that was the meaning behind why I came to stay in this hospital. Well, why didn't you save Bon then? Huh? Yua had sunk into the ground, dumbfounded. Ayase picked up the glasses that had fallen near her, crouched down in front of Yua, and peered at the girl's face. Then, with her slender fingers, she brushed Yua's hair aside and gently put her glasses back into place. So you, too, were one of the Black Knights of Gladiol. As we suspected from quite a ways back. And with that, Ayase gave a faint, transient smile. He was like, what the hell is going on in this hospital? Oh, hi, Nanami. And on that happy note, we're going to go ahead and end this episode. Things are moving quickly. Stuff is happening. Bon's dead. Yua got her sword just like that. Someone tried to kill Yua. Nanami's just kind of here for whatever reason. Things are speeding up. So, as far as I know, this is either the last chapter or the second last, depending on how you want to interpret the Steam achievements. So, I mean, what's going to happen next? Our poor boy has been kind of depressed and doing nothing for the last couple episodes, but everyone else has been busy. What's going to happen next episode? Guess you'll have to find out. Take care. I will see you guys next time. Thank you guys for sticking with the series. We are almost at the end of the first ending. Bye-bye.